The alien stood in the middle of the great council room. His body looked like living crystal, blue and white light flowing through him like water. His name was Velthar, and he was scared, very scared. Around him sat representatives from dozens of alien species. Some looked like giant insects, others had tentacles instead of arms. A few were just floating balls of gas with glowing eyes, but they all had one thing in common: they were losing a war. Velthar's voice cracked as he spoke. The Korthak Empire has taken another 12 worlds this month. Our fleets cannot stop them. Our weapons barely scratch their ships. They are getting closer to our home worlds every day. An insect-like alien clicked its mandibles nervously. How many soldiers do they have now? Intelligence reports suggest over 50 million bio-warriors, Velthar replied. Each one is 9 feet tall, covered in living armor, and can heal from almost any wound. They feel no fear. They show no mercy. They only know how to destroy and conquer. The room fell silent. For 3 years, the Galactic Coalition had fought the Korthak Empire. For 3 years, they had been pushed back world after world. Their energy weapons were useless against Korthak bioarmor. Their tactics meant nothing against enemies who charged straight into gunfire without caring about losses. What about the Vrex battle fleet? Asked a tentacled being. Gone, Velthar said quietly. The Korthak overran their position yesterday. No survivors, more silence. Fear filled the air like smoke. Then an old alien with gray skin spoke up. What about the humans? Every eye in the room turned to him. Humans were new to galactic politics. Their planet Earth had only made contact 5 years ago. Most species thought of them as primitive. They still used metal bullets instead of energy weapons. They had no shields on their ships. Their technology seemed hundreds of years behind everyone else. The humans? Velthar asked. What could they possibly do? I have heard stories, the gray alien continued. Stories about human wars. They say humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. They say human soldiers never give up, never surrender. They say humans have something called the warrior spirit, a floating gas being pulsed with orange light. But they are so primitive. Look at their weapons. Look at their ships. Sometimes primitive works, the gray alien replied. The Korthak are not used to fighting primitive enemies. They expect energy weapons and force fields. Maybe that is exactly why humans might succeed where we have failed. Velthar thought about this. The coalition was desperate. They had tried everything else. Maybe it was time to try something completely different. Very well, he said. I will travel to Earth and speak with their leaders. 3 days later, Velthar's ship entered Earth's solar system. The planet looked blue and green from space, covered in water and life. As his ship got closer, he could see the primitive human vessels surrounding their world. They looked like metal boxes with engines attached. No elegance, no advanced technology, just crude functional designs. The humans brought him to their capital city. The buildings were tall but simple. No floating structures, no energy domes. Everything was made of concrete, steel, and glass. It reminded Velthar of museum displays showing how ancient civilizations used to live. President Kim Tae-ho met him in a plain office. The human leader was middle-aged with graying hair and intelligent eyes. He wore a simple black suit instead of the elaborate robes most galactic leaders preferred. Ambassador Velthar, Kim Tae-ho said, standing to shake hands. This was a human custom Velthar had learned about. Physical contact to show friendship. Very primitive, but somehow reassuring. President Kim, Velthar replied. Thank you for seeing me. I bring a request from the Galactic Coalition. Kim Tae-ho gestured to a chair. Please sit. Tell me what brings you so far from home. Velthar explained everything. The Korthak Empire, the endless wars, the billions of civilians already enslaved or dead, the Coalition's desperate need for help. We have heard stories about human military capabilities, Velthar said carefully. We understand that your species has extensive experience with warfare. Kim Tae-ho's face grew serious. We have fought many wars, yes. Too many wars. What exactly are you asking for? Military assistance, soldiers, your finest warriors to help us stop the Korthak advance. The president was quiet for a long moment. Then he pressed a button on his desk. Colonel Park, please come to my office. A few minutes later, a man in military uniform entered. He was tall and lean, with scars on his hands and a calm expression that somehow seemed dangerous. This was Colonel Park Min-soo, Earth's most experienced Special Forces commander. Colonel, the president said, Ambassador Velthar has come to request military aid against an enemy called the Korthak Empire. Park Min-soo studied the alien with sharp eyes. What kind of enemy are we talking about? Velthar described the Korthak bio-warriors, their size, their armor, their healing abilities, their savage tactics. Sounds like they rely on intimidation and brute force, Park Min-soo said quietly. Yes, exactly. They charge straight at our battle lines. Our energy weapons cannot penetrate their armor. They heal too quickly for our medical disruptors to work. They seem unstoppable. Park Min-soo exchanged a look with the president. Something passed between them that Velthar did not understand. What would you offer in exchange for our help? Kim Tae-ho asked. Advanced technology, faster than light travel, energy weapons, force field generators, trade agreements, territory in the Outer Rim. We can offer your species a place in galactic civilization. The president nodded slowly. Give us time to consider your request. Colonel Park will need to review your intelligence data and assess the situation. Of course, Velthar said, but please understand, time is running short. The Korthak grow stronger every day. After the alien left, Kim Tae-ho turned to Park Min-soo. What do you think? I think they have no idea what they're asking for, the colonel replied. They want soldiers. They think they're hiring security guards to protect their worlds. And what would they actually be getting? Park Min-soo smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. Predators. Earth's apex predators, unleashed on an enemy that has never faced anything like us. Kim Tae-ho stared out the window at the city below. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They had perfected the art of killing in ways these aliens could not imagine. The coalition thought human technology was primitive, but they did not understand that humans had learned to wage war with more than just advanced weapons. How many volunteers do you think we could get? The president asked. For a chance to fight aliens in space, every special forces operator on the planet would volunteer. We could easily put together 10,000 of our best. 10,000, Kim Tae-ho repeated. The ambassador is expecting an army. 10,000 human soldiers is an army, Park Min-soo said quietly. The aliens just don't know it yet. The president made his decision. Earth would answer the coalition's call for help. They would send their finest soldiers to fight the Korthak Empire. What the aliens did not understand was that they were not just hiring soldiers. They were unleashing something far more dangerous. Human beings who viewed war not as a contest of honor, but as a problem to be solved permanently. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you asked Earth's children to go hunting. The human fleet arrived at Kepler 442b 3 weeks later. Fleet Admiral Yoon Da-bin stood on the bridge of the lead ship, watching the planet grow larger on the main screen. The world looked like Earth from a distance. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. But as they got closer, he could see the dark scars across the surface where Korthak weapons had burned away forests and cities. Admiral, called Lieutenant Nam Hyun-woo from the communication station, we're receiving a transmission from Coalition Command. Put it through. The main screen changed to show General Zextar, a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms. He looked relieved to see the human ships. Admiral Yoon, welcome to Kepler 442b. We are grateful for Earth's assistance in this dark time. General, Yoon replied with a slight bow. We're here to help. What's the current situation? Bad and getting worse. The Korthak have been pushing us back for months. We lost 3 major cities last week. Our energy weapons barely scratch their bioarmor, and their healing abilities make conventional tactics useless. Show me their positions. The screen changed to a tactical map. Red dots marked Korthak forces scattered across the northern continent. Blue dots showed coalition troops retreating toward the southern cities. They advanced during daylight hours, Zextar explained. Their bio-warriors are strongest in the sun. At night, they dig in and wait for dawn. Admiral Yoon studied the map with interest. How many humans do you want us to deploy? How many can you spare? We need every soldier possible. I have 10,000 troops aboard these ships. Zextar's forearms drooped with disappointment. Only 10,000? The Korthak have over 100,000 bio-warriors on this planet alone. 10,000 will be enough, Yoon said calmly. The alien general looked confused, but nodded. Very well. We'll assign you a sector to defend. Perhaps the eastern coast where— No, Yoon interrupted. We don't defend. We attack. Attack! But Admiral, the Korthak are too strong for direct assault. Our best strategy is to slow their advance and evacuate civilians. That's your strategy. We have a different approach. Before Zextar could respond, alarms began blaring on both ships. A new voice came over the communications. Coalition Command, this is Captain Shin Woo-jin leading Refugee Convoy 7. We are under attack by Korthak raiders, requesting immediate assistance. On the tactical display, a new cluster of red dots appeared near a group of civilian ships. How long until your nearest forces can respond? Admiral Yoon asked. 4 hours minimum, Zextar replied. By then, the convoy will be destroyed or captured. We can be there in 30 minutes. Admiral, with respect, 30 minutes is not enough time to organize a proper assault. You need artillery support, air cover, medical evacuation. We need none of those things, Yoon said. Captain Shin's team is already aboard their dropships. The human vessels changed course toward the battle. Zextar watched in amazement as small ships launched from the human fleet. Crude metal boxes with engines that looked nothing like advanced coalition dropships. Captain Shin Woo-jin sat strapped into his seat as the dropship plunged through the atmosphere. Around him, 24 other soldiers checked their weapons and equipment. Unlike the energy rifles used by coalition forces, the humans carried old-fashioned firearms that shot metal bullets. 30 seconds to landing zone, called the pilot. Shin looked at his squad leaders, Sergeant Kang Mi-young, Lieutenant Bae Jun-sik, and Corporal Lee Dong-ho. All of them had fought in Earth's wars. All of them knew what they were about to face. Remember, Shin said over the comm, these aliens have never fought humans before. They don't know our tactics. They don't know our capabilities. Use that advantage. The dropship touched down behind a small hill, 2 kilometers from the convoy battle. Through his binoculars, Shin could see the Korthak raiders attacking the civilian ships. The aliens were exactly as described. 9 feet tall, covered in living armor that pulsed with dark energy, carrying weapons that fired bolts of concentrated plasma. Kang, take your sniper team to the ridge. Bae, set up demo charges on their escape route. Lee, your squad follows me. We go in quiet. What about the convoy? Asked Sergeant Kang. What about it? Shouldn't we try to save the civilians first? Shin smiled coldly. The best way to save civilians is to kill their attackers. All of them. The human soldiers spread out and disappeared into the landscape. Coalition forces had never seen anything like it. One moment the humans were there, the next they had vanished like ghosts. For the next 6 hours, nothing seemed to happen. The Korthak raiders continued their attack on the convoy, unaware that death was creeping closer. Then the killing began. Sergeant Kang lay flat on the ridge, nearly invisible in her camouflaged ghillie suit. Through her scope, she watched a Korthak commander directing the attack from a rocky outcrop 800 meters away. The alien was huge, its bioarmor gleaming in the late afternoon sun. She adjusted for wind and distance, then squeezed the trigger. The bullet struck the Korthak in the head. For a moment, nothing happened. The alien's healing abilities tried to repair the damage, but Kang's bullets were coated with a special compound Dr. An-Sora had developed during the journey. Earth-based toxins that interfered with alien biology. The Korthak commander toppled over, dead. 2 other raiders rushed to help their leader. Kang killed them both with precise headshots before they could reach cover. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Bae and his demolition team had spent hours setting up explosives along the aliens' likely retreat routes. The charges were hidden so well that even the Korthak's enhanced senses could not detect them. When 3 raiders moved toward the convoy's weakest point, Bae triggered the first set of charges. The explosion sent rocks and metal flying. 2 Korthak died instantly. The third was wounded but began healing. Captain Shin appeared behind the wounded alien like a shadow. His knife found the gaps in its bioarmor, and more toxin-coated blades finished what the explosion had started. For the watching coalition forces, it was like witnessing magic. The massive, unstoppable Korthak warriors were being picked off one by an enemy they could not see. Could not catch, could not fight. The aliens tried to retreat, but Bae's demolition charges turned their escape routes into death traps. They tried to call for backup, but Corporal Lee's electronics warfare team jammed their communications. As the sun set, panic spread through the Korthak ranks. These were warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds who had never known defeat. Suddenly they were being hunted by invisible predators who struck without warning and disappeared before retaliation was possible. The last Korthak raider died just as full darkness fell. 24 aliens who had seemed unstoppable that morning were now corpses scattered across the battlefield. Captain Shin's team emerged from the shadows and regrouped near the convoy. The civilian aliens stared at them in amazement and fear. Convoy 7, this is Captain Shin. Area is secure. You can continue to your destination. Back on the command ship, General Zextar watched the tactical display in disbelief. The red dots representing Korthak forces had all gone dark. All of them. Admiral Yoon, he said slowly. Your soldiers, how did they accomplish this? Our sensors showed no major explosions, no energy weapon discharges. What happened down there? They did their job, Yoon replied simply. But how? The Korthak are elite biowarriors. They have advanced armor, superior healing abilities, overwhelming firepower. They also have weaknesses. My soldiers found those weaknesses and exploited them. Zextar was quiet for a moment. Admiral, I think I may have misunderstood what kind of assistance Earth is providing. What do you mean? I thought you were sending soldiers to help us fight the Korthak. Admiral Yoon looked at the alien general with calm, cold eyes. We didn't come here to fight the Korthak, General. We came here to kill them. All of them. For the first time since the war began, Zextar felt something he had not expected to feel when looking at the primitive humans. Fear. Not fear of what they might do to him, but fear of what they might do to anyone who stood in their way. The Coalition had asked for Earth soldiers, thinking they would get brave warriors to fight alongside them. Instead, they had received something far more dangerous, human beings who treated war not as a contest of honor, but as a problem that could only be solved through the complete elimination of the enemy. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans went to war, they did not seek victory. They sought extinction. Word spread through the Korthak Empire like poison in the blood. The mighty bio-warriors who had conquered 100 worlds were whispering about something new, something terrible. They called it the Silent Death. Commander Grixnell stood in his command bunker deep beneath the surface of Kepler 442b. His massive frame, covered in living armor that pulsed with dark energy, trembled slightly. This was unthinkable. Korthak warriors did not know fear. They were bred to be the perfect soldiers, strong, savage, unstoppable. But something was hunting them. Report, he growled to his aide. 12 more squads went silent during the night cycle, the smaller Korthak replied. No distress signals, no energy weapon signatures. They simply stopped responding. Survivors? None, Commander. When our morning patrols reached the positions, they found only bodies. Grixnell's armor flared brighter with rage. Show me. The aide activated a holographic display. Images appeared of Korthak warriors scattered across various battlefields. Each one had been killed differently. Some shot from impossible distances, others killed with primitive blades coated in unknown toxins. A few had been killed by explosions that seemed to come from nowhere. The enemy leaves no tracks, the aide continued. Our sensors cannot detect them. They appear, kill, and vanish like ghosts. There are no ghosts. Grixnell roared. Only enemies that bleed and die. But even as he said it, doubt crept into his mind. The Korthak had rules for warfare. Charge the enemy. Overwhelm them with superior firepower. Absorb their attacks with bioarmor and healing abilities. Victory through strength and savagery. These new enemies did not follow the rules. Miles away, Major Lim Seok-jin crouched in a cave system that his scouts had discovered 3 days earlier. The tunnels ran beneath most of the Korthak positions, invisible to their sensors. His team had been using them to move unseen across the battlefield. Sir, whispered Corporal Kim Yoo-jin, we've located their main ammunition depot, heavily guarded but accessible through the lower tunnels. Lim studied the hand-drawn map his soldiers had created. Human map-making was crude compared to alien technology, but it worked. More importantly, it could not be detected or jammed by enemy systems. How many guards? 36 bio-warriors in rotating shifts. They change positions every 4 hours. Weaknesses? They're expecting an attack from above ground. All their heavy weapons face outward. The tunnel entrance is only guarded by 4 sentries. Lim nodded. This was how humans fought wars. Study the enemy, find their weaknesses, strike where they least expected it. Kim, take your demo team and plant charges throughout the depot. Set them for maximum chain reaction. Choi, your squad eliminates the sentries quietly. Park, once the depot blows, we hit their command bunker while they're confused. What about reinforcements? Asked Sergeant Choi. Dr. An's team has been working on a special surprise for any Korthak who try to help. Dr. An Sora worked in a makeshift laboratory hidden in an abandoned coalition bunker. She had been studying captured Korthak biotechnology for weeks, learning how their armor and weapons functioned. The aliens' greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. Their bioarmor was alive, constantly adapting and healing, but living things could be poisoned, infected, turned against themselves. "The toxin is ready," she told Major Lim over the secure radio. "Airborne dispersal. Once it enters their armor's biological systems, it will turn their own healing abilities against them." "How long does it take to work?" 30 seconds for initial symptoms, 2 minutes for complete system failure. "The armor will literally eat itself from the inside." Lim smiled grimly. Earth's greatest weapon had always been its biology. Bacteria, viruses, toxins that had evolved over billions of years to kill and survive. The Korthak had never faced anything like Earth's microscopic arsenal. That night, the silent death struck again. Corporal Kim's demolition team moved through the tunnels like water flowing downhill. They had been fighting in caves and underground systems since childhood, first in Earth's urban warfare training, then in conflicts across their home planet. Moving silently through dark spaces was second nature. The Korthak sentries never saw them coming. Sergeant Choi's squad eliminated all 4 guards with toxin-coated blades, their bodies dropping silently to the ground. Inside the ammunition depot, Kim's team worked with deadly efficiency. Explosive charges placed at precise structural points, timers set for maximum psychological impact. When the Korthak discovered the attack, they would have just enough time to realize what was about to happen, but not enough time to stop it. Meanwhile, Captain Yang Min-ho led a separate team toward the command bunker. They had been watching Korthak patrol patterns for weeks, learning their habits, their timing, their blind spots. The aliens followed rigid schedules because they had never needed to adapt. No enemy had ever forced them to change their tactics. They simply overwhelmed opposition with brute force. Humans were different. Humans adapted constantly, learning and evolving their methods with every engagement. Young's team reached the bunker just as the ammunition depot exploded. The blast lit up the night sky like a small sun. Massive Korthak weapons and ammunition cooked off in a chain reaction that could be seen from orbit. The explosion was not just about destroying supplies. It was about sending a message. You are not safe anywhere. As Korthak warriors rushed toward the explosion, they ran straight into Dr. On's biological trap. Canisters hidden along their route released clouds of invisible toxin into the air. The bio-warriors charged through the clouds without noticing, their armor automatically filtering the air. But the toxin was designed to be absorbed by their filtering systems. Within seconds, it was inside their armor, spreading through the biological networks that kept them alive. The first warrior collapsed after 30 seconds, his armor convulsing as its own biological systems turned against it. Others followed quickly, dropping to the ground as their greatest protection became their deadliest enemy. Commander Grixnall watched the disaster unfold from his bunker. Dozens of his finest warriors writhing on the ground, killed by their own armor. The ammunition depot burning in the distance. And somewhere in the darkness, the invisible enemies who had done this. "Sir," his aide said quietly, "perhaps we should request reinforcements from the main fleet." "No," Grixnall slammed his fist against the wall. "We do not run from primitive aliens with metal weapons." But even as he spoke, another report came in. A supply convoy had been attacked. Another patrol had gone silent. The humans were everywhere and nowhere, striking without warning and vanishing before retaliation was possible. For the first time in his life, Commander Grixnall began to understand what prey felt like. Captain Yang's assault team reached the command bunker, while the Korthak were still distracted by the depot explosion. Unlike coalition forces, who would have announced their presence with energy weapons and demands for surrender, the humans simply began killing. Lieutenant Nam Hyun-woo disabled the bunker's communications array with a small explosive charge. Sergeant Go Tae-young's heavy weapons team set up covering positions to prevent escape. Captain Yang himself led the assault team down into the bunker complex. The fighting was brief and brutal. Korthak bio-warriors were deadly in open combat, but the confined spaces of the bunker favored human tactics. Yang's team used flashbang grenades to disorient their enemies, then struck with toxin-coated weapons from multiple directions. Within minutes, the entire command structure for the northern continent was dead. As dawn broke over Kepler 442b, the results of the night's work became clear. The Korthak had lost their main ammunition depot, their regional command structure, and over 200 bio-warriors. The humans had suffered 0 casualties. General Zextar stood in the Coalition Command Center, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. Red markers representing Korthak forces had been disappearing all night. Each time one went dark, no new markers appeared to replace it. "Admiral Yoon," he said over the communication link, "your forces have accomplished in one night what we could not do in months of fighting." "We're just getting started," the human admiral replied calmly. "Getting started? But you've already dealt them a severe blow." "General, last night was not a blow. It was reconnaissance. We were learning how they think, how they react, how they die. Now that we understand them, the real work begins." Zextar felt a chill run through his body. "What do you mean?" "We're going to solve your Korthak problem permanently." The alien general looked at the tactical display again. For months, the Coalition had been trying to push the Korthak back, to defend their territory, to minimize casualties. They had been fighting a war. The humans were not fighting a war. They were conducting an extermination. The Korthak Empire had never retreated from anything. For 300 years, they had conquered world after world, crushing all resistance with overwhelming force. But now, for the first time in their history, they were afraid. Supreme War Leader Thaxamor stood aboard his flagship in high orbit above Kepler 442b. His massive frame, even larger than regular bio-warriors, was covered in elite armor that pulsed with silver and black energy. He had come to this world personally with his most elite forces, the Death Guard, genetically enhanced super soldiers who had never known defeat. "Explain to me again," he growled to his intelligence officer, "how a handful of primitive aliens have destroyed 3 entire battle groups." The smaller Korthak trembled as he spoke. "Supreme Leader, they do not fight like any enemy we have encountered. They avoid direct combat. They strike from concealment, then disappear. Our bio-warriors cannot adapt to tactics they cannot understand. Show me the battle recordings." Holographic displays filled the command chamber. Images of Korthak positions being systematically destroyed, warriors dying from impossible distances, ammunition depots exploding in perfect chain reactions, command bunkers going silent without any sign of struggle. "They use psychological warfare," the intelligence officer continued. "Our warriors have begun to fear the darkness. Some refuse to patrol alone. Morale is collapsing." Thaxamor's armor flared with rage. "Impossible. Korthak warriors know no fear. Perhaps that is the problem, Supreme Leader. We have never learned to fight an enemy that makes us afraid." Thaxamor studied the recordings more carefully. The humans used primitive kinetic weapons, simple explosives, and basic tactics, but they combined these tools in ways that seemed almost supernatural. They appeared where the enemy least expected them, struck with precise lethality, and vanished before retaliation was possible. "Prepare the Death Guard for immediate deployment," he ordered. "If regular bio-warriors cannot handle these humans, then we will send our elite." "Supreme Leader, perhaps we should study their tactics further before—" "No." Thaxamor's roar echoed through the command chamber. "We are Korthak! We do not study our prey, we destroy it." General Oh Chang-min sat in his command post, watching intelligence reports flow in from across the planet. For weeks, his teams had been systematically dismantling Korthak positions, learning everything about their capabilities, their weaknesses, their psychology. The aliens were predictable. They relied on superior technology, overwhelming force, and their reputation for invincibility. They had never faced an enemy that refused to be intimidated, that adapted faster than they could respond, that viewed their strengths as exploitable weaknesses. "Sir," called Major Park Min-ju from the intelligence station, "orbital sensors are detecting new movement from the Korthak fleet. Large transport ships heading for the surface, and how many? 12 ships. Each one carries approximately 1,000 bio-warriors, but these are different from the ones we've been fighting." General O studied the sensor data. The new warriors were larger, their armor more advanced, their weapons more powerful. Elite troops sent to deal with the human problem. "They're sending their best," he said quietly. "Orders, sir?" O smiled coldly. "Let them come. Colonel Park, prepare Operation Clean Sweep. Dr. An, how are our special projects coming along?" Dr. An Sora looked up from her laboratory equipment. "The enhanced toxins are ready. The new armor-piercing rounds are in production. and I've finished reverse engineering their communication systems. Excellent. Major Lim, status of your reconnaissance teams? All Korthak positions mapped and analyzed. Escape routes identified. Supply lines marked for interdiction. General O nodded. Gentlemen, the enemy is about to send us their elite forces. They think superior technology and training will solve their problem. What do we think? Asked Colonel Park. We think they've just given us the opportunity to eliminate their best soldiers all at once. The Death Guard landed at dawn, 12,000 of the Korthak Empire's finest warriors. Each one stood 10 feet tall, covered in armor that could absorb energy weapon blasts, heal from almost any wound, and enhance their already formidable strength and speed. Supreme War Leader Thaxmore led the assault personally, determined to crush the human resistance through sheer overwhelming force. His plan was simple: find the human positions and destroy them with concentrated firepower. It was exactly what General O had expected them to. To his movement confirmed, reported Sergeant Imhewan from her concealed observation post. 12,000 elite bio-warriors advancing in formation toward our previous positions. Previous positions? Asked her spotter. We abandoned them 3 hours ago. The Korthak are attacking empty bunkers. While the Death Guard wasted time and ammunition destroying abandoned positions, human teams moved into action across the planet. This was not a battle. It was a carefully orchestrated execution. Captain Ryu Bin led her demolition team through service tunnels beneath the Korthak landing zone. The aliens had set up temporary command posts near their ships. Confident that their superior firepower would protect them, they had not considered that humans might attack from below. Charges placed, she whispered into her radio, ready for synchronized detonation. Master Sergeant Go Tae-young's heavy weapons team had spent days preparing firing positions in the mountains overlooking the valley. Their weapons were crude compared to alien technology, but they were perfectly suited for the job at hand. Range 1,300 meters, he reported. Wind negligible. Targets acquired. Staff Sergeant Imhewan watched through her scope as the Death Guard realized they were attacking empty positions. The elite warriors began to spread out, searching for their real enemies. They're starting to adapt, she said. Too late, came General O's voice over the radio. Execute Operation Clean Sweep. The mountains erupted in fire. Go Tae-young's heavy weapons team unleashed everything they had, not at the bio-warriors themselves, but at the landing zone behind them. Massive explosions tore through the Korthak transport ships, destroying their only means of escape. Simultaneously, Captain Ryu's charges detonated beneath the temporary command posts. Korthak officers who had been coordinating the assault suddenly found themselves buried under tons of rock and metal, but the real killing had not yet begun. Dr. On's enhanced toxins filled the air around the Death Guard positions. Unlike their previous encounters, these toxins had been specifically designed to penetrate elite bioarmor. The aliens' superior protection systems actually made them more vulnerable, filtering and concentrating the poison directly into their bodies. Within minutes, the most powerful warriors in the Korthak Empire were dropping to their knees as their own armor turned against them. Impossible, Supreme War Leader Thaxmore gasped as his elite guards collapsed around him. How can primitives defeat our finest warriors? Captain Yang Min-ho emerged from concealment 50 meters away, his squad surrounding the alien commander. They had been waiting in position for hours, knowing exactly where the enemy leader would be when the trap was sprung. You made a mistake, Yang said calmly in the Korthak language. His team had learned alien languages during the voyage to this world. You thought superior technology would guarantee victory. Our armor, our weapons, our warriors are the finest in the galaxy, Thaxmore wheezed. Your armor is alive. Living things can be poisoned. Your weapons are energy-based. Energy can be redirected or absorbed. Your warriors follow rigid tactical doctrines. Rigid tactics are predictable. Yang raised his sidearm, a simple chemical projectile weapon that would have been considered primitive by galactic standards. You brought your best soldiers to fight us. We brought our best killers to hunt you. The shot echoed across the battlefield. Within 6 hours, the entire Death Guard was eliminated. 12,000 elite bio-warriors, the finest soldiers in the Korthak Empire, reduced to corpses scattered across a single planet. General Zextar stood in the Coalition Command Center, staring at displays that showed no remaining red markers anywhere on the planet's surface. The Korthak presence on Kepler 442b had been completely eliminated. Admiral Yoon, he called over the communication system. Your forces have achieved total victory. The planet is secure. Negative, came the Admiral's calm reply. The planet is cleared. Victory requires the elimination of the threat, not just its temporary removal. I don't understand. The Korthak forces here have been destroyed. The Korthak forces everywhere will be destroyed. This was just the beginning. Sextar felt that familiar chill of fear. Admiral, surely you don't mean to take this war to their home worlds? General, the Korthak Empire has been expanding for 3 centuries. They have enslaved billions of beings across dozens of worlds. They represent a clear and ongoing threat to galactic stability. But their fleet, their defenses, they have millions of biowarriors. They had 12,000 elite biowarriors. Now they have none. Fear is a more powerful weapon than any technology, General. By tomorrow, every Korthak in the galaxy will know that their finest soldiers were eliminated by a few thousand humans with primitive weapons. Admiral Yoon paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. The Coalition asked us to solve the Korthak problem. Problems require permanent solutions. General Zextar realized with growing. The Korthak Empire surrendered on a Tuesday. Emperor Vaxthul, supreme ruler of 300 worlds and master of 50 billion biowarriors, sent his surrender message on an open channel so the entire galaxy could hear it. His words were simple and final. The Korthak Empire yields to the human forces. We accept all terms. We will comply with all demands. Please make it stop. General Oh Chang-min received the message aboard his command ship as the human fleet approached the Korthak home system. He had been expecting this moment for weeks, ever since his forces had systematically eliminated every major Korthak battle group in the Outer Rim. Admiral Yoon, he called over the communication system. The Emperor wants to discuss surrender terms. There are no terms to discuss, Yoon replied. Unconditional surrender was the only option we offered. And if they refuse to honor the surrender? Then we continue the extermination. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Extermination, not defeat, not conquest. Complete elimination of the threat. Ambassador Velthar sat in the Coalition Council chambers, surrounded by representatives from dozens of species. All of them were staring at the tactical displays showing the final movements of the war. In 6 months, the humans had not just defeated the Korthak Empire, they had erased it from existence. How? Whispered the insect-like delegate. How did 10,000 primitive soldiers destroy an empire of 50 billion warriors? Velthar had been asking himself the same question for months. The answer was becoming clear, and it terrified him. They didn't fight the Korthak, he said quietly. They hunted them. On the main display, reports continued to flow in from across the galaxy. Korthak battle fleets found drifting in space, their crews dead from toxins that turned their own armor into poison. Supply worlds abandoned after their biowarrior garrisons simply vanished in the night. Command centers destroyed by explosions that seemed to come from nowhere. The humans had not waged war in any recognizable sense. They had conducted a systematic elimination campaign, treating the Korthak not as enemy soldiers but as pests to be exterminated. Colonel Park Min-soo stood in the ruins of the Korthak Imperial Palace. The massive structure had been built to intimidate visitors with its size and grandeur. Now it was empty, its defenders dead, its emperor cowering in a bunker deep beneath the surface. Sir, called Captain Choi So-young, we've secured the palace. No resistance encountered, Park nodded. There would be no resistance. The Korthak had learned that fighting humans was futile, better to surrender quickly and hope for mercy. What are your orders regarding the emperor? She asked. Standard protocol. Document everything. Catalog all military assets. Prepare for permanent occupation. Permanent occupation, sir? Park looked at her with eyes that had seen too much war. Captain, the Korthak Empire expanded for 3 centuries. They enslaved entire species, destroyed countless worlds, caused the deaths of billions of beings. This is not a war that ends with a peace treaty. What does it end with? The complete neutralization of their capacity to threaten anyone ever again. Dr. An So-ra worked in her laboratory aboard the human flagship, cataloging everything they had learned about alien biology during the campaign. Her files contained detailed information about 17 different species, their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities, the exact toxins and weapons that would be most effective against each one. Fascinating, she murmured as she reviewed the data. Each species has evolved different defensive mechanisms. but they all share common biological foundations that can be exploited. Her assistant, Lieutenant Kim Subin, looked up from her own research. Doctor, are we preparing this information for future conflicts? We're preparing this information for future peace, Dr. An replied. The best way to maintain peace is to ensure that no one is capable of disturbing it. Kim looked uncomfortable. Doctor, some of these biological weapons could eliminate entire species. Yes, they could. That's what makes them effective deterrents. But if we possess the capability to destroy entire civilizations... Dr. An stopped her work and looked directly at her assistant. Lieutenant, what do you think prevented major wars on Earth during the nuclear age? The knowledge that both sides could destroy each other completely. Exactly. Mutual assured destruction. Now imagine that same principle applied to the entire galaxy, but with only one side possessing the ultimate weapon. That would make us the ultimate peacekeepers.
No one starts wars when they know with absolute certainty that they will lose. 3 days later, General Oh Chang-min met with the surviving Korthak leadership in a sterile conference room aboard his ship.
Emperor Vaxtal, once the most feared ruler in the galaxy, sat across from him looking like a broken old man. What are your terms? The Emperor asked quietly. Complete disarmament of all military forces, dissolution of the imperial government, return of all enslaved populations to their homeworlds, reparations to be paid to all species harmed by Korthak expansion. And if we comply with these terms, your species will be allowed to survive on your homeworlds under human supervision. And if we refuse? General O's expression did not change. There will be nothing left to refuse with. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. You humans, you fight wars differently than anyone else. We don't fight wars, O replied. We solve problems. The Korthak Empire was a problem that threatened galactic stability. We solved it. By destroying us, by removing your ability to threaten others. Your species chose expansion and conquest. We chose to make sure you could never make that choice again. On Earth, President Kim Tae-ho read the final report from the Korthak campaign. Total human casualties, 43 soldiers killed in action. Total Korthak casualties, estimated at 15 million bio-warriors dead, with their entire military infrastructure eliminated. Colonel Park, he said to his aide, what is the status of our permanent monitoring stations? Established in 17 systems across Coalition space, sir. Each station is staffed with a full tactical analysis team and equipped with fast response capabilities. Good. And the other projects? Dr. An's biological research has identified effective countermeasures against 43 known alien species. Admiral Yoon's fleet has been expanded to include permanent patrol squadrons in all major systems. General O's special operations teams have been deployed to monitor potential threat populations. Kim Tae-ho nodded. The galaxy had asked for Earth's help in solving the Korthak problem. Now Earth was making sure no similar problems would arise in the future. Sir, his aide continued, the Coalition Council has sent another formal request. They want to discuss our long-term presence in their space. What kind of discussion? They're concerned about the scope of our operations. Some species are uncomfortable with human monitoring stations in their systems. The president smiled without humor. They asked us to solve their problem. Now they're uncomfortable with our methods. What should I tell them? Tell them that Earth takes its peacekeeping responsibilities very seriously. We will maintain whatever presence is necessary to ensure galactic stability. And if they object? Kim Tae-ho looked out the window at the city below, where human children played safely in parks while their parents worked in peace. Earth had learned the cost of allowing threats to grow unchecked. Then we will remind them why they called us in the first place. Ambassador Velthar sat alone in his office, reading intelligence reports about human activities across the galaxy, monitoring stations that looked suspiciously like military bases, patrol fleets that responded to any unusual activity with overwhelming force, research teams studying alien biology with unsettling thoroughness. The Coalition had asked for Earth soldiers to help them fight a war. Instead, they had received humanity's apex predators, who had solved the problem by eliminating it entirely. Now those same predators were ensuring that no new problems would arise. The Korthak Empire was gone. The galaxy was safe. Peace reigned across hundreds of worlds. But Velthar could not shake the feeling that they had traded one kind of danger for another. The Korthak had been brutal conquerors who enslaved worlds through force. The humans were quiet protectors who controlled worlds through the mere possibility of force. Which was more terrifying? A predator that roared as it attacked, or one that smiled while ensuring you could never threaten it? The answer, Velthar realized, was that the galaxy would never find out. The humans had made sure of that. Earth's children had gone hunting among the stars, and now they had decided to stay. Not as conquerors, but as guardians who would ensure that peace was maintained through the simple knowledge that resistance was futile. The coalition had sought Earth's soldiers, but received executioners instead. Now those executioners had become the galaxy's permanent peacekeepers, making sure that the peace they had created would last forever. Whether the galaxy wanted it or not,